Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Tengo en este nuevo episodio una persona que tuve el honor de conocer en la comunidad de Tony Robbins. Él es Platinum Partnership y realmente cuando yo estoy en esos ambientes creo que este tipo de personas nació en una cuna de oro y que todo fue perfecto y por eso están ahí en primera fila y tienen una vida increíble. Resulta ser que con el tiempo empecé a conocer un poco más a este ser maravilloso y entendí que no todo lo que brilla es oro y que a veces para llegar a un cierto punto en la vida es como el diamante. Va a haber presión en la vida que te va a hacer llevar a un siguiente nivel si así lo deseas. Él se llama JAKE Cortez. Él realmente habla muy poco español, así que vamos a traducir esto con subtítulos. Algunas cosas cuando las pueda decir en español las va a decir, pero lo más probable es que casi todo esté en inglés. Así que quisiera que tú te presentaras. Sé que eres inversionista en este momento, que estás metido en el mundo del real estate, pero ¿quién es JAKE Cortez?
I'm excited to be here, so thank you for putting this on. We're here in Doral, Florida, and going to be spending Thanksgiving here with my family, so happy that we got to put this together. Jay Cortez is basically an amalgamation of just a collection of experiences. Some were up and some were down. I don't like to say good or bad because I don't classify certain things like that. Everything is either an example of what you should be doing,
Okay.
or a lesson of something you should be learning from, right? An example is you have a harmonious relationship with yourself, your loved ones, your business partners, things are going in the direction you'd like them to, or you are continually met with resistance, frustration, anxiety, stress, and these are signals that life is providing to you to say, hey, you're not on the right path. Maybe you need to course correct. Um, to sum things up, between the ages of 18 and 22 years old, I got into enough trouble to go to prison for 7.5 years. These were some of my most challenging moments. I don't look at them as good or bad. I actually look at them as something that brought a lot of, let's say, flavor and color to my life around life experiences that help one understand life at a deeper level. After being physically incarcerated for 7.5 years, I now understand emotional prisons, relational prisons, financial prisons, and I am acutely aware of certain things that could act as something constraining, which has allowed me to see with a different type of vision.
Ok, perfecto. Según su manera de ver la vida, es que la vida es, podríamos llamarlo como una montaña rusa, que va subiendo y bajando y cuando las cosas no van bien, son lecciones que te ayudan a ver si estás por buen camino o no. A mí me impactó sobremanera una foto que tú pusiste recientemente en tu Instagram, donde te veías con el gran Tony Robbins y decías que el primer contacto que tú tuviste con él fue a través de un libro, ¿no? Y tú cambiaste en prisión unos cigarros, si no me equivoco, por un libro. O sea, eso es increíble. ¿Nos puedes comentar un poco sobre eso?
Yeah, so I was 26 years old and I was in prison for the third time. I kind of chuckle a little bit, just because I'm so far removed from the young man that I was back then, to who I am now. The distance is far and wide, and I'm just appreciative for every moment that brought me to the man that I am today. And 26 years old, I knew and I understood that I wanted a better life for myself. And I knew if I kept the same patterns, I continued with the same friends, I would do the same drugs, I would go to the same clubs, I would continue to repeat a life that was providing me consequences like prison. And I had such an eager desire to change and to be a more productive human. Also, more importantly, to be a better son for my mother. I'm the oldest of four siblings, and although I was man enough to be able to deal with whatever I was confronted with, my mom deserved better, and I was committed to being a better son for her. And also, I wanted more peace in my life, so we stop every 10 please. one of the biggest things that anyone would need if they need to make a change big is you have to create a why that moves your soul. And my why was my mom deserves better. I want to be a better human on this planet. I want to impact people in a positive, sustainable way as opposed to a negative, non-sustainable way. So I traded a pack of cigarettes for the book, Awakening the Giant Within. And I did everything that book told me to do, write down my toys and adventure goals, my relationship goals, my business goals, my contribution goals. And one of my goals was to master the art of public speaking.
Wow.
And in my pursuit of mastering the art of public speaking, taking Toastmasters, as a byproduct, I became really good in sales. That was just a natural byproduct of communicating effectively. And it has actually helped me tremendously in my relationship because I'm such a great communicator that we're able to resolve any challenges we're ever confronted with.
Entonces, según entiendo, todo empezó con un gran porqué que tenías, que era cambiar esa relación o cómo darle alegría a tu madre, ¿no? O sea, ese fue
Yeah,
tu gran porqué empezar a cambiar tus patrones, todo esto que venías desenvolviendo como vida, te diste cuenta que no estabas haciendo las cosas bien, pero lo que realmente te movió fue el amor por tu madre.
yeah. I wanted more peace in my life, and I wanted her to not have to worry and be so stressed out. And obviously, a mother is always going to hurt for their children, and my mother never gave up on me. So if my mother isn't giving up on me and my life really sucked in those moments, I cannot give up on myself because I would be giving up on her.
Una duda que se me genera es cómo llegó ese libro a una prisión donde todo es antivalores, según lo que yo creo. ¿Cómo alguien tenía un libro en una prisión de crecimiento personal? ¿O es muy común? No tengo la menor idea.
It's common.
Okay.
It's common. You can get all the books you need. I mean, if you're Jewish, you have the Torah. If you're
Okay.
Muslim, you have the Quran. You have the Bible, and then you can get whatever book you want. Really, you just order it or have your family order it.
¿Tú pudieras decir que ese libro te cambió la vida?
I would say the life that Tony has lived has changed my life. He inspired me as who he was as a human being. The book was a catalyst.
Okay.
Following his journey, learning more about what he does, learning about the values that dictate our lives, those things changed my life, yes.
Okay. Y cuando tú saliste de prisión, me imagino que no tenías dinero en los bolsillos.
Well, interestingly enough, I was in a work camp.
Okay.
In a work camp, work release, you go to work and then you come back.
Okay.
So you sleep in the prison, but you go to work
Okay.
and then you go back to the prison. So I was able to save up $10,000.
Cuando tú saliste tenías $10,000 en...
Yep.
¿Qué hiciste con esos primeros $10,000 cuando fuiste libre?
I went straight to the casino.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Bueno, eso. Una rumba. Allá liga.
No, I was very... All right, so I was very prudent with my money. I wasn't spending a lot because I knew that that's what I had. And I worked very hard for my money. I was working from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday and Saturdays 10 to 4 p.m. So I worked 6 days a week.
Okay.
In my first year as an over-the-phone salesperson, I was able to put myself in the top 5 of a room of 70 people in my first year. And the least tenured individual in that top 5 had 3 years.
Wow.
But how I was able to do it is I was very focused on how to become super efficient at my job.
Okay.
And I didn't know the numbers, but I knew face-to-face communication is different than over the phone.
Okay.
But the statistics are that communication is 55% body language,
Okay.
38% tonality,
All
vocal
right.
variety, and 7% words. Okay? So I had a friend, Joe, God rest may he rest in peace. He died. He was 30 years old. He That's another conversation, but he was very animate on the phone saying, yes, hey, this is Joe with American. And that wasn't very natural to me. That wasn't natural.
Okay.
You know, I did have expressions, but I saw he was really good and it worked. So my name is Jacob, and all my life I went by Jacob.
Right.
But over the phone, I created Jake, because Jake is the person that people want to speak with. And when the people would call, it's, hey, it's Jake with American Van Lines. How are you? How can I help you today? I had this energy.
Okay.
That it didn't matter if I was having a bad day, I was sick, I was stressed, I had anxiety. None of that mattered. The moment that call connected, all of that went away. All of it goes away. It's Jake with American Van Lines. How can I help you? And it was energy. To sell you, I'm like a transporter. I am transporting energy.
Okay.
Sales is nothing but emotional transportation. I am in the emotional transportation business. I am transporting my conviction into the listener so that they know I am fully competent. I'm capable of handling what you need me to handle as your moving specialist, and anything you need regarding your move, I am the one that's going to be able to help you with this. If it's something good that you need help with, no worries. Something bad happened, I will pick up the phone and I will help you get it addressed. And people can sense that. I had plenty of people who thought that I was the owner of the company.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, I'm not the owner of the company. And if I was, I wouldn't be on the phone with you.
So, tú creaste como una especie de otro tú para
Right.
estar en el trabajo y pudieras estar pasando alguna situación personal que pudiera afectarte, pero cuando estabas listo para el trabajo, ahí cambiabas y te convertías en una especie de un superhéroe, de un super...
Yep.
Ok. So, ese tema de las ventas también nació desde el libro de Tony. O sea, cuando tú saliste, que dijiste, ¿por qué te dedicaste a las ventas?
Because that's what I was doing before.
Ok. Tú estabas en ventas.
Yeah.
¿Y qué vendías antes de prisión?
Cars, advertising for hotels, mortgages, houses.
Ok.
So,
Tu vida siempre ha estado llena de ventas.
always.
Ok. ¿Y en qué cambió la vida el crecimiento personal? O sea, porque la venta es una habilidad. Y cuando le metiste esto de crecimiento personal, ¿qué impacto dio en tu vida?
I think there's a deep connection between personal development and enhancing your capability to sell. Because for me, sales is about forming a connection with your client, potential connection. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. If I know and have an understanding of myself so deep that I'm confident in my skin as a human being, that level of conviction, that level of comfort in my skin allows me to convey points more effectively with the level of conviction and certainty that I'm able to transport into the listener. And in doing this, even if they feel like I don't know what I'm talking about, whether it's moving, selling solar, mortgages, they get the sense that I have authority. Right? I was selling solar and I didn't know the technical components of it. They asked me a technical question. I didn't have the answer. I'm in the business of building relationships, but I wasn't going to stop selling because I didn't understand everything. I start selling and a customer asked me a question. I said, you know what, Mrs. Jones, that's a fantastic question. I don't have the answer to that, but I can get it. 1 second. Boop, 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 boop. Mark answers the call. Mark, sitting here with Miss Jones. She has a question. Here's the question. He answers it on speakerphone. Ma'am, do you have any more technical questions for Mark? No, that's it. Thanks, Mark. Hang up. And I resume charming this lady.
Ok, tú eras como un Henry Ford. No sé si has escuchado esa historia de Ford, que alguien le preguntó que por qué no le tenía la inteligencia para responder todas las preguntas, pero con un botón tenía el indicado para responderlas.
That's it.
So, en el tema de ventas, definitivamente, según tu experiencia y lo que nos has comentado, es un tema de relación, de crear buena relación, sentir a esa persona o a ese cliente que tú tienes la autoridad para ofrecerle lo que tú en este momento estás ofreciendo o en ese momento estás ofreciendo. Y cuando generas esa relación, efectivamente tú podías transportar a esa persona desde el lugar donde tú la conseguías hasta otro lugar.
Right.
¿Cómo ha impactado desde el año uno, desde que saliste de prisión hasta el día de hoy, ese tema de ventas? Sé por experiencia propia que es un tema escalable. ¿Cómo ha venido creciendo en el tiempo gracias a las ventas tu vida económica, financiera?
Well, back then I was mostly doing sales. Now I'm raising capital for large real estate deals. Although some things from sales did translate, like how many people you have to speak to close deals, how many people I had to speak to raise a certain amount of money. So the volume of interactions is kind of similar.
Okay.
But if I'm selling you a toaster, I can convince you to spend $100 on this toaster.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm presenting you a real estate deal, there's not a likely possibility that I'll be able to convince you to put $200,000 into this deal if it doesn't already meet your investment strategy.
Okay.
So I didn't try to convince with raising capital. It's a big distinction. With sales, you can kind of persuade people in certain ways to make a decision that's in their best interest if you understand their needs. With investing, I just had to find the people that already invested in those types of assets. So it was a matter of just making enough calls, presenting the deal, raising the capital. So back then, I was closing deals and I was earning my income by helping other people make a lot of money.
Okay.
I got to a place where I understood my value, and it was no longer just going to work for somebody to go make the money. It was, I had the number in my mind that I want to make. I would come to your office and I'd say, how much revenue do I have to generate you in sales to hit this number? And then they tell me. And then at that point, that is the only thing I'm focused on in that company, is hitting that number in revenue so I get what I want, they get what they want, and everybody's happy.
Good. So, tú tratas de llenar la necesidad de la otra persona primero para luego obtener lo que tú estás buscando.
Exactly.
Ok, bueno, esto se ha convertido en prácticamente un mini curso de estrategias de ventas. Me parece espectacular. Me encantaría saber, esta es una pregunta que a veces le hago a las personas, si perdieras la memoria en este momento y alguien que tú quisieras te pudiera recordar algún momento de tu vida, ¿qué te gustaría que te recordara?
Getting engaged in Sedona.
Good. Si tu vida fuera una película, ¿cómo se llamara y cómo sería el tráiler?
Redemption. That would be the name of the movie, Redemption.
¿Y cómo sería el tráiler? ¿Cómo sería el...?
I think it would really just encapsulate a lot of just my life in terms of the ups and the downs and the challenges that I've been confronted with. I think I would put most of my life it's just that's kind of hard, the trailer, to do a trailer for my life. There's just so much I'd want to fit in there. First, I would start with the love of my parents, and then, parents separating when I was like 11, 12, and then I started doing drugs. And then the drugs led to crime and violence and a lot of other things. And then me having 7.5 years to think about my life and all the errors that I committed and how I can fix my life, into getting out and restoring my relationship with God and building on a sturdy foundation and going from an amazing salesperson to an astute investor.
Wow. Si pudieras darle un consejo a una persona que está en prisión y está próximo a salir y piensa que su vida ya está perdida, ¿qué le dirías?
Well, I will speak to that, and I'll give you that. But I want to speak to the people that are in an emotional prison or a mental prison or in a relational prison, because there's much more of those people than there are of people in real prison, in a physical prison. There's like 2 million people incarcerated in the United States, but there's tens of millions of people that are imprisoned in a relationship that they shouldn't be, because they don't know life outside it, or there's a lot of fear with leaving. For me, the biggest fear was being in a relationship where I felt like it was prison, because that's worse than physical prison.
Yeah.
Because a physical prison, one day you know you're getting out. In a relational prison, you won't get out until you decide to leave, because you want better for yourself. But how can you escape a prison you don't know you're in?
Wow.
So I'm speaking to you. If it's relational, if it's emotional because you have things that you haven't dealt with, people you haven't forgiven, hatred in your heart for somebody who harmed you, the forgiveness is not for them. The forgiveness is for you.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to do that. Rumi, a very famous philosopher, said, the wound is where the light enters you. The wound is where the light enters you. When it's ugly, it's dark, you don't want to revisit, because it's just a lot of negative emotions. Just understand that God comes through that same wound, because through the healing journey, you're able to distill the pearl of wisdom that God has afforded you through that experience. And I'll tell you the example with my father. My father sat me down on the couch, kind of like he and I are sitting right here, and he made me the man of the house. He explicitly said, Jake, you're now the man of the house. It's not working out, me and your mom, we're going separate ways. And he left the next day. So 11, going on 12 years old, I hated my father, which then turned to anger, resentment, and then I would deal with bouts of rage because I suppressed these emotions. And through the suppression of these emotions, because it was not manly to express emotions, this is how I was raised, they then manifested themselves in some pretty harmful ways. Crime, drug abuse, alcoholism, violence, and it took me on a very, very arduous journey. And sometimes people are stuck in this journey because they've chosen not to deal with what is causing this. We can sit here and we can have fights about the symptom, or you can address the root. And the root has to do with doing shadow work. And shadow work is that part of yourself that you want to deny or don't agree exists. And you can't deny something that is intrinsically a part of you. You have to heal that boy, that girl that's inside and is hurt. Because you deny them, you deny yourself growth. Let the plane pass. So whether it's emotional, relational, financial, whatever prison, if this at all resonates with you, or you question whether you're in one, you're in one. Because if you're not, it's not even a question. So the question I would pose to you is, when you're sitting on your deathbed and you're on your way out of this life, and let's say you had this is a story that Les Brown talks about, when you're sitting on your deathbed and you're on your way out, and God sent all of your gifts and your talents and your skills and your resources, your unique fingerprint on this world, all of your abilities, and they're all standing around your bed, and they said, we came for you and you didn't use us. That is what I would classify as hell. So I am from the school of thought, ripping the band-aid off, because I would much rather deal with temporary pain than permanent trauma. Now, for those that are actually in a physical prison, man, I I trained myself to see the positive in everything. And in prison, you learn a lot. You learn how to read people. You learn how to use your sixth sense. Because out here, if a fight's going to happen, it gets loud. People get raw. In there, if a fight's going to happen, everything gets very quiet. The tension, you can feel it in the air. And instead of people in groups, there's twos, people in groups of twos, and all this other stuff. So your ability to perceive danger becomes heightened, and you're using instincts that you otherwise wouldn't. So you now have these superpowers. All you have to do getting out of prison is pick a path that will reap you the highest rewards based on your skill sets. Mine was sales. And people say, oh, I can't do this because I'm a convicted felon. I was working in an airport with airport clearance after 9/11. So if you're gonna sit here and tell me, oh, I can't do that because I'm a convicted felon, you are adopting a narrative that was created by somebody other than yourself. My philosophy was, I am gonna try. Even if they say no, I'm gonna try. And if they tell me no, all it means in my world is find a way. That's the world I live in. If life has now become harder, as a result of the consequences of some of my ill-conceived decisions, I will bear the brunt of that because I did it. Now, I will become more resourceful because I'm confronted with more challenges than your average person. So that's how I chose to perceive my situation, because the compounded effect of being more resourceful because I have more challenges than the average person put me in a category of being able to get shit done all the time. No matter what, whatever it is, if I'm focused on it and I need to get it done, who has the capital, who has the resources, who has the land that I want to turn into the next deal, I was able to get it done because I have figured out to be more resourceful than 99% of the people out there as a result of my life experiences. So for those that are getting out, don't do drugs and commit yourself to a path that is right for you, and you just keep going and don't stop like Forrest Gump.
Wow, creo que lo dijo todo. Dijiste dos cosas que realmente impactaron gran parte de lo que he vivido hasta ahora. Nunca he dicho esto así en público. Yo estuve preso 3 días y estando en prisión me di cuenta de eso que tú acabas de decir, que yo realmente en la vida libre estaba preso porque no hacía lo que realmente quería, no estaba en la relación de pareja que realmente yo me sentía bien y realmente me sentía atado. Yo decía, o sea, ¿qué cambia esto a lo que estaba viviendo afuera? Y gracias a Dios rápidamente pude salir de ahí y desde ahí comencé este camino a empezar a leer también y aprender un poco para poder cambiar mi manera de ver la vida. Y segundo, esa frase de Rumi, de que la luz entra por la herida, me ha hecho entender cuando he estado contra el piso que a veces eh, son los mejores momentos de la vida porque te permiten ver cosas que no había visto. Bueno, estoy muy agradecido por esta conversación. Creo que va a ser muy útil para las personas que la están viendo. Quisiera terminar con que te conozco un poco tras cámaras, además del crecimiento personal que ha marcado tu vida, que ha hecho un antes y un después.
When your consciousness expands, so say you have the consciousness of a tennis ball.
Okay.
Your understanding of life will be that of a tennis ball. When your consciousness expands, let's say to that of a watermelon, your understanding of life subsequently expands to that of a watermelon. My younger self wasn't conscious in other areas to understand to the extent that I do now that everything is connected. Like for me back then, fighting was just a part of life, but now I see it as hurting another human that is also going through their life experience with their trauma. Their anger doesn't have anything to do with me. It's what they're dealing with internally that they haven't learned to deal with effectively. And I was one of those people. So instead of perpetuating the problem, I have chose to be the solution now by my demeanor, my behavior, my decision to be more gentle. It's very powerful when you as a man know you have the ability to hurt or harm another human and you restrain yourself even if you are threatened. My rule is as long as you don't put your hands on me, I don't care. I really don't care.
Bueno, ha sido todo por este episodio. Voy a dejar aquí sus redes. Si no hablas inglés, ahorita hay inteligencia artificial, lo puedes seguir. Él siempre está creando mucho contenido, sobre todo de real estate, pero siempre también estás dando tu capsulita de crecimiento personal. Gracias por aceptar esta invitación y espero pronto volvamos a conectar y podamos crear cosas impresionantes que seguramente sí va a hacer.
Amazing. Awesome. See you on the other side.